Today we will discuss about the contribution of this trail pathway in the CD19-CAR NK92 cytotoxicity effect. In the previous video we have seen the impact of the contribution of this FasL and Prf1, where we have find out that this Perforin or granzyme related pathways has major contributions, and that varies depending on the type of target cells that we have used. So to check the contribution of this trail pathway, we have selected this, the researchers have selected this Duadi and Karpas422 cell line, and based on their previous experiments they have also determined the effector to target ratio that is efficient for determining the contribution of these trail pathways. That is, for Duadi cell lines, as a target cells they have used effector to target ratio of 1:4, and for Karpas422 they have used effector to target ratio of 1:1. So when in order to check this contribution of this trail pathway, what they did is they used trail antibodies to prevent the trail interactions between these effector cells and the target cells. So they have used these anti-trail antibodies. So when they used the reference CD19-CAR NK92 cells, that is CD19-CAR NK92 cells without any knockout of this FasL or Perforin, in that case they are able to see some decrease in the cell lysis both for the Duadi cells and the Karpas422. However, that decrease is not statistically significant. So however, when they did the similar cytotoxicity assay in the dual knockout, that is in the CD19-CAR NK92 cells which has this FasL and Perforin knockouts are there, in that case they are able to see a decrease that is statistically significant for both the Duadi cells and this Karpas422 cells. One of the reasons could be that the cell death in the dual knockout is already low, and the decrease is also compared to this lower value of the cytotoxicity in the dual knockout is statistically significant, and in the other case the decrease is not statistically significant because the background cell lysis is already very high, that is in the control case. However, the researchers thinks that in the case of this reference CD19-CAR NK92, the inhibitions of this trail pathway could be compensated by the other pathways, and they have not mentioned specifically what pathways that will take over the absence of this trail pathways. But since the dual knockout is not there, they might wanted to point out that it's the FasL or Perforin granzyme pathways that might take over the cytotoxicity that are not been taken care by these trail pathways. So this is the final figure of this paper, where they wanted to find out apart from this Perforin granzymes pathway, what are the other pathways that also plays a role towards this CD19-CAR NK92 cytotoxicity. And however, although the results shows the contributions for the trail pathways is very minimum, but they finally conclude that this trail pathways also has a role, and in the absence of trail pathways its role has been compensated by the other pathways. So this is what they have finally concluded in this final figure. Overall, they come to the point that the contributions by the Perforin and granzyme pathways is significantly high, or significantly higher, or is much higher. Thereby it's the FasL pathways, and then the other pathways, and the trail pathways. This is what they finally conclude from all the results that are presented in this paper. So I hope you understood how they come up to the point and how they validate their hypothesis about the different pathways. If you need to understand more about these experiments in detail, you can go through the reference that has been provided in the description, and they also have some supplemental figures that will give you more insights or more results that will help you to come to the point that the researchers has finally concluded in their discussion sections. So thank you for your time.